Good day, sir. I am Rachel Jane Cortesiano, the first reporter of this group. So, my topic is all about the interrogation techniques. So, number one is the read techniques. The read techniques is a well-known method of interrogation primarily used in criminal investigations. It consists of a three-parts process, which is a non-accusatory interview, then a non-accusatory interrogation phase, then also the goal is to extract confessions through psychological manipulation. So, and then the next is the core elements, which is the accusatory tone, maximization and minimization techniques. Lastly is pressure on the suspect, often isolating them to create a feeling of inevitability. So the next is the use case. So use case, when the investigator believes the suspect is guilty and aims to deceive a confession. Number two is direct questioning. So direct questioning is straightforward and involves asking clear, concise, and specific questions. The interrogator typically uses yes or no questions to gather basic factual information. So then these are the core elements of direct questioning. So first is closed-ended question. Then second is sequential questioning. Then third is clear objective. So the third is controlled confrontation. So confrontation involves presenting evidence or inconsistencies in a suspect's statement in a calm but assertive manner. Then it encourages the suspect to admit his guilt or confess by highlighting contradictions. So these are the core elements of controlled confrontation. First, confrontation with discrepancies. Then second is strategic presentation of evidence. Then lastly is structured to build psychological pressure while maintaining control. Then last is the use case. So use case often used when there are significant inconsistencies or partial evidence, and the goal is to pressure the suspect into explaining or admitting these inconsistencies. And that would be all. Thank you.
I am Abel Montibon, and the next techniques that I will going to discuss is all about the interviewing techniques. So the first one is the cognitive interviewing. It is a method that focuses on enhancing a witness or interviewee's memory recall by utilizing various psychological techniques. The goal is to elicit as much information as possible without leading the suspect. The core elements. First is encouraging the interviewee to retrieve the context of the event. And second, use of open-ended questions. And last, encouraging multiple perspectives. Use cases. Primarily used with cooperative witnesses or victims to retrieve detailed and accurate information about an event. Next is the narrative interviewing. It is a technique involves asking the interviewee to tell their story or accounts of events in their own words. The interviewer minimizes interruptions, allowing the interviewee to provide an interactive narrative. Core elements, open-ended prompts, minimal intervention from the interviewer, and encourages detailed storytelling. Use case. Best used in exploratory interviews where the interviewer wants to gather a broad narrative account of an event or experience without imposing structure. Last one is rapport-based questioning. It focuses on building a trusting relationship between the interviewer and interviewee, creating a comfortable environment to encourage openness. The core elements are active listening, empathy and understanding, and open-ended, non-threatening questions. Use case: used in situation requiring trust building such as interviews with vulnerable populations or where the interviewee may initially be reluctant to talk. And that's all, sir. Thank you.
Good day, sir. I am Crystalline Moring from BSP in 3D. The topic that I discuss is all about difference between interrogation and interviewing techniques. Interrogation techniques are designed to elicit confession or admission from suspect, often using psychological pressure or manipulation. Interviewing techniques aim to gather information without pressuring or leading the subject. Tone. Interrogation tends to be accusatory and confrontational, while interviewing is usually non-confrontational and focused on establishing rapport and gathering information. Next is ethical concern. Some interrogation techniques, like the RAID techniques, have been criticized for leading to false confessions due to the psychological pressure they place on suspect. Interviewing techniques, particularly rapport-based approaches, are considered more ethical and are designed to minimize the risk of coercion. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Appropriate use cases. Interrogation techniques. The RAID techniques. When investigators believe the suspect is guilty and are focused on obtaining a confession, care must be taken to avoid coercion. Direct questioning. Used when time is of the essence and specific factual information is required, such as during initial investigation stages. Controlled confrontation. Best suited when there are inconsistencies or partial evidence and the goal is to highlight contradictions and extract explanations or confession. Interviewing techniques. Cognitive interviewing. Ideal for interviewing cooperative witnesses or victims who may need to recall complex or detailed information, particular in trauma cases. Narrative interviewing. Used in situations where interviewees should give their account with minimal interruptions, such as investigative journalism or exploratory research. Rapport-based questioning. Effective when interviewing vulnerable populations or when trust needs to be established before sensitive or critical information can be shared. Example, in therapy or social work. Understanding the differences and appropriate use cases for these techniques ensures they are applied ethical and effectively in investigative settings.